Welcome to the F50 Woman Podcast, dedicated to sharing stories from a diverse community of women in order to provoke you into a passionate pursuit of life, build unshakable character, and achieve extraordinary things. Now, here is your host, Julia Jack.
As a teen, she was a self-conscious, people-pleasing rule follower until she found alcohol. And that deceitful friend would keep her out of balance for many years. She would drop out of college and get married for the first time after only dating for 2 weeks. But there's never such thing as too late. Nancy McKay, at the age of 60, finally came into her own. Now she's a recoverer. She's a survivor who's choosing to thrive. Now, Nancy McKay is a self-confident, self-validated life coach and another flourishing and phenomenal F50 woman. Hey, F50 women, thank you so much for joining us. Today we are here with Nancy McKay. She is an author. She is a speaker. She is a recovery and resilience expert. She has an inspiring story of recovery and creating a new life after cancer. And we know that's a big one. Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Julia. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today.
Yes. So help us to get to know you a little bit. So as a younger woman or younger girl, tell us about who you were, what you wanted to do, who you wanted to be, what you loved. Let us get to know who you were.
Well, when I was a younger woman, when I was in my teens, I was self-conscious. I was a people pleaser.
Okay.
I did what I was told. I was a rule follower. I didn't like getting in trouble. And when I discovered alcohol in high school, that helped me feel more comfortable in my own skin.
Okay.
And it made me feel like I was a part of instead of on the outside looking in.
Okay.
And it wasn't until really recently that I started loving myself and, really kind of have come into my own, after the age of 60. So,
wow.
Yeah.
That story. We'd love to hear how that happened. But before we get to that meaty middle stuff, tell us about you now. Tell us about what you do and who you are.
Okay. Well, now I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm a ovarian cancer survivor. I'm looking at, it'll be 7 years. Is that right? 7 years. 2015, I was diagnosed. So yeah, 7 years.
Wow.
In February. And I am now a certified life and Equus coach. And I'm in training again to become a master facilitator of Equus Coaching. So that is so I will be able to run retreats and workshops without adult supervision.
Okay.
So
be the grown-up of this.
Yeah, I get to be the grown-up in the group. So
yeah.
I'm very, very excited about that.
Nice. So explain what Equus Coaching is. I've never heard about that before. What is that?
Equus Coaching is using horses as co-facilitators in life coaching. So it's not therapy. It's not any kind of physical therapy. There's no riding involved. It's all groundwork. And it's the reason why horses are so wonderful as co-facilitators is because they're so intuitive.
Okay.
And because they're so intuitive, they pick up on all the energy that is around them. Okay. And horses are herd animals, so they like to join up with, other horses, obviously, but other sources of energy that are trustworthy.
Okay.
So when I have a client in the round pen, the horse will mirror the energy that the client is putting off.
Oh, so wow. Okay.
If the client is incongruent in their energy, so if they are pretending to be one thing and but internally they feel completely different, then the horse can sense that incongruity, which is astounding. And they'll steer clear of the person in the round pen whose energy isn't lined up, right?
Wow.
But as soon as the client lands on their truth, they don't even have to speak the words to me. But as soon as they land on their truth, their body relaxes.
Wow.
And so then they're in alignment, right?
Yeah.
And the horse picks up on that.
Yeah.
Then the horse wants to join up. So here comes the horse, and I say it's magic because that's what it feels like to me whenever someone relaxes into their truth and the horse mirrors that back to them by coming and joining up with them. It's like, it's just magic. It's just, it's incredible. And I had to learn how to do this so that I could bring it to my clients. It's magnificent.
It is wonderful. And as you talk about the magic, and I say that because I try to explain to people that was part of my journey where somehow who I was trying to be or thought I was or thought I should be wasn't in line with who I naturally was.
Right.
And I feel like that was just flatlining everything in my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's confirmation that people can sense it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People can sense it. And people have a lot more intuition than they probably think they do.
Yeah.
But horses have
even
so much more than humans do even. So that's the beauty of it is when the horse picks up on it, then you feel it in a visceral way. Your body feels it.
Yeah.
It really cements that, this is where I need to be sort of thing.
Now, have you had any clients fight that truth? Thinking, even when the horses react or whatever evidence they get, that they're just like, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I've had a couple who, the horses haven't, they've responded, but not like with most everybody.
Okay.
And it's interesting because, it really is, it's a testament to working with people who are really aligned with what they're doing, or, and I'm going to backtrack on that.
Okay.
Because the people who are really aligned and don't really have a whole lot to talk about in a coaching session, the horse should be right there.
Okay.
And so, I've had a couple people who were, I thought pretty aligned with what was happening in their lives and so on and so forth, and seemed to be living in their truth. And yet the horse was, engaging a little bit, but not as much as I would have expected.
Okay.
So it's interesting. And, so, I like to say that horses are great lie detectors.
Yeah.
Because then, if the horse is on the other side of the round pen and they think they're sitting in their truth.
Yeah.
I can kind of call bullshit on that. Like, I think, something tells me that there's something underneath there that's not lining up.
And sometimes is it just buried so they don't even know?
I think so. And sometimes they just don't want to even go there.
Right. I can imagine. Yeah.
And if that's the case, then it's like, okay, well, so why did you make the appointment?
Yeah. Why are you here? Yeah. Why did you call me? Yeah. So tell us, because you went from a younger woman, you discovered alcohol and opened you up in a way, and then you became a older woman. You found yourself after 60. Tell us about what happened in the middle to get you there. Help us.
Lots of stuff. So, my drinking went from fun social drinking in my, my late teens, 20s, 30s, into my 40s. It got a little more significant.
Okay.
I started feeling some of the, not necessarily the consequences, but I started being concerned about my drinking.
Okay.
I was thinking, I'm not sure that this is the right way for me to be living, right?
Okay.
And so I'd pick up books at the bookstore, kind of, looking side by side, making sure nobody saw me in the alcohol recovery section sort of thing. And, I was very ashamed of it, ashamed of not being able to handle it or thinking that I wasn't handling it.
Right.
And so, I tippy-toed around that all through my 40s. And when I was 50, my father committed suicide. He was an alcoholic.
Oh my goodness.
And, I was his dutiful daughter. I was, I loved him, and I, was with him a lot of the time. And he had been, he was an alcoholic always, in my growing up years and so on and so forth. And he had gotten sober in 1995, just before my mother died, and stayed sober for a few years, and then started kind of bouncing around the recovery world, in and out sort of thing. And so finally, in 2007, he killed himself. And that threw my drinking into overdrive. I just felt so guilty, even though now looking back, I had nothing to feel guilty about.
Right.
It was his disease, his path. Yeah. And, but it really threw me, and I started drinking very, very heavily. And it took me 2 years to get to that point of suicide attempt on my part.
Wow.
And, so, my husband and I had gone to happy hour with some friends and came home, and on the way, or when we got home, I said to my husband, damn it, should have stopped and gotten a bottle of wine on the way home. And he said, well, I think you've had enough. And those 5 little words just threw me into a tailspin. And I got mad and went in the bedroom and slammed the door. And then I started having a huge pity party for myself. And that turned into, melancholy, like you can't believe, and to the point where I thought, well, everyone would be better off without me.
Wow.
Which was, in retrospect, was a fairly common thought for me to think. But this time, I took steps to take care of that. And so I got my husband's handgun out of the nightstand and put it to my head, and it wouldn't fire. And
wow. So you actually tried. Yeah.
Yeah. I realized, after a minute or so, that the safety was on. And so I put lowered the gun to figure out how to take the safety off. And as soon as I did, the gun fired.
Oh my goodness.
And, thankfully it wasn't pointed at my head.
Yes.
And I say the only thing that got shot was an innocent pillow on the bed. Yeah. And, and that took care of it. That was it for me. I never drank another drop again. And that was 13 years ago, almost 13.
Okay. So tell us about that, because it seems almost like literally an inner trigger that went off that said, okay, that's enough. Was it because
it scared me?
It scared you sober? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, I can't drink safely because this is where my drinking takes me.
Takes you. Okay.
And so I knew I couldn't drink safely anymore. And at that moment, I say I was standing at the intersection of desperation and grace. And
I love that, because that's where you go.
Like. Yeah. I was so desperate, and God or the universe or whatever you believe in as a higher power saved me in that moment. And, it's a miracle that I'm still around. So, that was then, and I went into recovery and worked my ass off there. And got a great job about a year later and everything was great. And then in 2015, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And fortunately, it was early stage,
Okay.
which is very rare with ovarian cancer.
I know that's a serious one. Ovarian
Yeah.
cancer. It's
Yeah. And the symptoms are so benign that you miss them. I was in the middle of menopause. And so I had a lower back pain. I blamed it on the mattress. I was peeing a lot more frequently. I'm in menopause, these things happen.
Yeah. All things go haywire at that point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they were all, everything I've had were symptoms of ovarian cancer. And the problem with ovarian cancer is there's no test to detect it. It's not like, pap smear doesn't do it. So there's nothing that they can test. If there's a sense that there might be a problem, then there's a blood test that they can run that, gives them a better indication. But until there's a biopsy, there's no definitive answer, to find it. And so, I had my surgery on my 58th birthday. And so I woke up and found out that I had cancer. And I kind of joked that, well, that's one hell of a birthday present. And thank you very much. And as it turns out, that was the best birthday present because of that diagnosis and the treatment that I went through 6 rounds of chemo. My perspective on life began to change.
Yes.
And my diagnosis wasn't terminal by any stretch of the imagination, but it was enough to bring my mortality right, smack me in the face. Right.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking about, am I living my life the way I want to live it?
Yeah.
And, I had a really good job with a really good company and I enjoyed the people I worked with and I was fucking miserable.
Oh, wow. Okay. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
That hit me.
So my mantra became, I didn't get sober and survive cancer to be miserable.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was the only one that could change that.
Yeah.
So
what did you do? Yeah.
I started training to become a life coach. I dove headfirst into the self-development pool and I started studying Brene Brown and, started reading everything I could get my hands on and came across Martha Beck and saw her at a retreat in California on my 61st birthday and came home and enrolled in her training program.
Okay.
And it's been, fabulous ever since. I retired from my corporate job in 2019. I launched my business in 2018. And, so I am doing work that feeds my soul, which is exactly what I wanted. That's why I left my other job, was because it did not feed my soul. And I wasn't going to tolerate it. I couldn't, I might as well have picked up another gun and shot myself because it was just, that's not living. That's existing. And I'm not here to exist. I'm here to live and thrive. And, so that's what I did.
So why did you pick life coaching? What was it? What made you choose that or go to that?
It's really interesting because when I went to college, which didn't last very long, I was in college for a semester before I quit and got married to a man who asked me to marry him after I'd only known him for 2 weeks. That indicates how that self-confidence and self-worth was at the time, because I thought he was the only guy that would ever ask me to marry him. Okay. So I said yes.
Okay.
So that's very illustrative of how I thought about myself. And, but at that time, I was also going to major in psychology and minor in social work. So I always knew that helping people was something that I wanted to do.
Okay.
And throughout my life, I'm the person that a lot of people came to when they had problems. Can you help me with this? What am I doing? Blah blah. It's like I could have hung up a shield.
You and I are single.
The doctor is in, right?
Yeah.
And it just felt really natural. It just felt really, really natural.
Okay.
So there it is. I started following some life coaches and I loved Martha Beck and her message. And she was just the obvious choice to train with. So.
Okay. And so you mentioned that at that time with the man that asked you to marry him after 2 weeks, that's how you thought about yourself. Tell us about how you think about yourself now.
Now I have a lot of self-confidence. I don't have as much as I will have, I'm sure, by the time I'm 10 toes up, but it's significant just how much I've gotten in this last year, how much I've grown in that area.
Yeah.
I'm reaching out and connecting with people who I never would have thought I'd have the nerve to reach out and connect with.
Okay.
I'm showing up and I'm doing things because that's what I want to do, and not because somebody says you should do this or you shouldn't do that. I don't listen. I don't listen to the negative voices in my head anymore. Let's back up on that. There are negative voices in my head.
They never go away.
They never go away.
Yes.
They will always be there, damn it.
Yes.
But I don't have to act on them.
Right.
And I can act in my own best interest now, and I have my own back.
Okay.
And that's the difference is, I'm not, I used to really need validation from the outside world that I was okay. Yeah. And now, I still like to have validation that, that is fabulous, but I don't need it. It's not essential for me anymore. And it used to be essential.
Yeah. So what did you do for those people who just don't know? So how do I get to that place that you're in? Is there any process you went through? Or is there anything you do daily that gets you to get those voices to go away or not really care or need it?
Yeah. Well, I got a lot of life coaching.
Okay.
Number one.
For yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When I started training to become a life coach, part of the process is being coached and allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And so that was huge for me, was those first, those first dipping my toe into that and being vulnerable. And somehow I knew instinctively that was going to save my ass. Okay. It was just that was going to make a difference for me. Okay. And so instead of being ashamed or anything, trying to hold my secrets in, I started letting them out and I started sharing them. And what I found was that helps other people, not only from, hearing my story, but it helps them understand that it's safe to open up to. Yeah. And so, so then, when I started working as a life coach, I hired my own life coach to help me because everybody's got blind spots and everybody, can learn something, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't just say this because I am a life coach, but I think everybody needs a life coach. Yeah. Everybody needs somebody that's objective, that they can bounce things off of and get perspective on. Yeah. That they're not able to find themselves. Now, one of the things that Martha Beck says, and I repeat it frequently, is I'm not going to be able to tell you anything about yourself that you don't already know. Right. I'm just going to help you uncover it. Right. we all have this inner wisdom that tells us what to do. We just have never, traditionally, we've never been trained how to tap into that. We've not been taught how to do that. My parents certainly didn't know anything about that, and they didn't teach me about it if they did. And, but I've had those moments of intuition that hit me. And I thought, no, I can't do that. I wouldn't listen. Yeah. And, my life would be totally different if I had listened. Yeah. And so in some ways, it's like, I wonder how it would have been. So like when this fellow asked me to marry him, I had every warning light going off, every warning bell in my body. It's like, run away, Yeah. And I thought, no, this is my one and only chance. Yeah. I got to go there, and how sad.
You argued with the voice. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I argued with the voice, and and I got the hit, a week before the wedding, don't do it. And I wouldn't listen. And I did it. And 2 years later, I got divorced. So, it's one of those things we know if we know how to listen. Yeah. And that's what I help people learn is how to listen, how to tap into that intuition that they have.
Right. And the more we don't listen, it seems like, I imagine it just gets dulled and dulled. Yeah. Almost like a friend trying to tell you something after a while. They're like, well.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Wow. That's great. That's all great advice for those who are stuck. And like you're illustrating, I don't care how old you are. Yeah. There are a lot of women my age that are stuck, and we want to help you get unstuck because Absolutely. Like you said, what was the phrase you 10 toes up, you said,
That's
what?
Right.
You never know when your 10 toes are going to be up. So come on.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And, I know that, I've been given a couple of life-saving gifts, and I don't want to waste them.
Yes.
I really don't want to waste them. And, I may have 5 minutes or 15 years or 25 years or whatever, but I'm going to make the most of it. And I want to be happy and have fun in my life. And yesterday I had an Equus Coaching workshop or an equine workshop, and it was so much fun. And I thought, this is exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
That's beautiful. That's how we all should be feeling.
And it felt so normal and natural. And it was just.
Yeah. Wake up in the morning and say, yep, I'm here and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Yep. So on your journey, did you have anyone who helped you? Who along the way helped you with some of those hard times? Was it your husband? Was it friends? Was it a nurse that said, yes, you can survive this? Tell us about those people.
Well, I have some friends that I've had since high school that were really supportive, and one especially that has just been there for me through thick and thin. And she was really concerned about me when I was drinking so heavily and wanted to say something and was afraid I'd tell her to go to hell.
Okay.
And so she kept her mouth shut
but she didn't run away.
She didn't run away.
Yeah.
She didn't run away. She was still there for me. And so I was very fortunate that I didn't burn bridges when I was drinking. I was really lucky. Yeah. Now there's some people in my life who kind of faded away after I quit drinking because there wasn't that commonality anymore. And so, that's unfortunate, but it's kind of part of the process. And my husband has been a rock throughout this whole thing. We met when we met a long time ago, but we got together when I was 40-ish. We got married when I was 47.
Okay.
And so, and I'm pushing 65 now. So, we've been together for a long time, and he has been a huge support and my caregiver through every surgery I've had. I've had hip replacement and shoulder surgery and then my hysterectomy, and he's been my nurse through all of it, so he's a huge source of support.
Yeah.
And then one of my chemo nurses was one of the reasons I wasn't going to do chemo initially because I had seen what it had done to my mom, and chemo itself had killed one of my friends who had a recurrence of breast cancer, and she was on her last round and she had some kind of reaction to it. And 10 days later, she was dead. And so I was hell-bent on saying, that is not for me.
That's not going to be me. Yeah.
I'm not going down that road. Mm-hmm. And then that intuition said, that you're going to be fine. Okay. And I changed my mind on a dime. I listened.
You were listening now. Yeah.
And I didn't know that I was listening to my intuition, really. It just kicked in, and I didn't fight it.
Right.
Because this was all before coach training.
Yeah.
So, I hadn't been enlightened yet, really, so to speak. And so, but something said that, my inner voice said, you're going to be fine. Yeah. And I was, and one of my other little things I like to say is I lost my hair, but I gained my inner strength. And that's what it felt like. I felt like the physical side effects, losing my hair, being tired, fatigue, all that stuff was part of the process of me learning who I am, that strength that I didn't know I had, and who I could be if I went all in on myself.
Right. That's fantastic. It's surrender and vulnerability and flowering into your power.
Yep.
So
exactly
awesome.
Right. Yeah.
Now, if you met your younger self, what is the one piece of advice you would give her?
Probably listen to your inner voice, your inner wisdom. I think if there's anything we can do to help kids tap into that early, then our world would be a whole different place.
Yes, it would. Yeah. What does that feel like? So if you were to try to tell someone who doesn't, what does my inner voice sound like? What is that? What does it feel like? Can you describe what that's been when you've listened to it?
For me, like I say, when I had this guy asking me to marry him, I had this feeling in my gut, I guess is probably, it was a gut feeling that something wasn't right. And it wasn't a fear like you're in danger, that sort of thing. It was just, there was something that said, this is not the right thing. And it kind of lasted for me for a couple days because he had driven me to college. So I was going to college out of town, and he took me there and was there for the weekend. And I had this feeling about, okay, thanks ever so much. You can go now.
Right. Yes.
And I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't. Right. I just kept stuffing that down and saying, no, this is your one chance. And so, but I have this physical feeling that was like, I'm ready for you to go.
Right.
I don't know. I can't explain it, but it was physical.
Yeah.
And I'd had that feeling a couple times in my life before that. So, I'm 18 years old and I recognize that feeling.
Yeah.
But I didn't act on it. So I think, one of the things that I help my clients with is really listening to their body. And we do this exercise called a body compass. And it's, thinking about something that was unpleasant and kind of rating that on a scale of 1 to -10. And then thinking about something really pleasant and rating that on a scale of 1 to +10. And then you kind of get a feeling of where your feelings lie. So then in the future, when something comes up, you ask, how does this feel on this scale? Right. And it's because our bodies have so much more wisdom than our brains do.
Yes, that does.
And our brains will lie to us all day long, but our body always tells us the truth.
Yeah.
And so you can't always depend on your brain because, my brain has certainly led me down the wrong path on numerous occasions. So,
yes, here. Yeah.
It's just body wisdom is huge, really huge.
So you're talking about body and brain wisdom. Well, how about the emotions? It feels like the emotions tangle those two things up.
Well, the emotions for me, so one of the other tools I use is called the model. And that is something that is a pretty universal truth that our thoughts create our reality.
Okay.
And so the circumstance in our life, whatever it is. So for instance, take a cancer diagnosis. Your thought could be, why me? What the hell did I do to,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
right? And then, so if your thought is, why me? Then your thoughts create an emotion. And so your emotion might be anger. Right. And then your feelings drive your actions. So if you're angry, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to get pissy, right? You're going to be mad. And then what's the result? Well, you're an angry, bitter woman.
Yeah.
Who's
angry, bitter, sick person. Yeah.
Sick person, right?
Yeah.
But if you have the same circumstance and your thought is, why not me? Which is what mine was. Okay. I never thought, why me? I kind of went, well, yeah, why not? My mom had cancer, why not? I'm surprised it hadn't happened sooner, really. And so then my feeling was one of acceptance.
Okay.
Right. And so then when you feel acceptance, then what are the actions that you take? Well, for me, it was you just do the next thing. You do what needs to be done in order to take care of the cancer, right?
Yeah.
And then the results are, well, at least you've done something, you're taking action, and you are being cured.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So same circumstance, different thoughts, different results.
Different emotions, different results.
Different emotions. And so our emotions are something that's important. The thing about feelings and emotions is they won't kill you.
No.
So I encourage all my clients to really sit in their feelings, sit in the emotions, and let them move through you, because emotions will, if you let them go, if you let them run their course, they will run through you in about 90 seconds.
Okay.
And you won't die. And then you can look at, okay, how do I want to feel?
Yeah.
And what thoughts can I think in order to feel that way?
Yeah.
So if I want to feel calm or peaceful, what thoughts are going to help me feel that way? I'm here. I'm safe right this minute. I'm safe.
Right this minute, right now. Yes.
Right. And so that helps foster that. And then you can act accordingly. But so many people feel like, if I start crying, I'll never stop.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I've heard that. I can't let myself feel it. Yeah. Well, the resisting of the feeling is keeping it alive, and it grows. It grows and it grows and it grows because it's under there, underneath the shadows and in the dirt and all that stuff. And it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger until one day you just blow. Right.
Yeah.
And if you would have just sat there in it and said, I am so angry, and allowed the anger to process through you, in a couple minutes, it's gone. Yeah. It's not to say you're not going to still have some residual anger, but you're going to, the strong, powerful emotion of it has passed through your body.
Yeah.
And then you can move on to the next action. How do I want to deal with this? Am I going to go punch a hole in the wall, or am I going to do something that's going to help the situation?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Do what's beneficial. Yes. Yeah.
If you are enjoying the F50 Woman podcast, don't forget to share your positive comments and ratings and share us on all your favorite social media channels. F50 Woman is a movement created for women, spread by women. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show and your host, Julia Jack.
So now that you've gotten to this amazing place where you're living your purpose, what's next for you? What do you see forward?
That's the fun part.
Yeah. Good.
As I said, I'm in training to become a master facilitator. And so I should be finished with my training by the end of September.
Okay.
And which means that I will start planning soon for my first kind of solo retreat. And you know, I probably will have somebody come and do it with me. So, because it's so much more fun when when you've got some friends with you to help you, but it'll be nice not to have to concern myself about making sure I've got, supervising another master facilitator there to make sure that everything goes according to plan. So I'm so excited, and as I said, I'm pushing 65, so I'll be 65 in February. So, to be still learning and growing and looking at a whole new element of my business at that point is really exciting for me. It's like, God, it really is true. You're never too old to do something else. And as right. I saw it on Facebook, I think this morning, someone reminded us that Dan Rather started writing his articles or his blog or whatever it is that he does. And I've read them. I know that it's significant at the age of 90. Right. So
there you go. Yes.
You really are never too old to do what it is that gives you joy.
Yes.
Whatever that is. And
you're never done until you get those 10 toes up.
That's
you are
right.
not done. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Tell us about the workshops that you're envisioning for the future. Will they be week-long workshops? Are they weekend workshops? And are some of these online? I noticed that you mentioned you work with people virtually as well with the horses.
Well, I don't do virtual work with the horses, but I do.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Virtual one-on-one coaching like this. Virtually. So the workshops and retreats are going to be, I'm not really quite sure. I am planning a retreat in February that will be in Arizona. And it's for women who are just kind of, need to get some clarity, right?
Okay.
And that is going to be one of the models that I use. But the other type of retreat or workshop that I do are going to be for women in recovery and women who are wanting to explore their relationship with alcohol, or women who have already stopped drinking and still feel that, something's not right sort of feeling. And there's just a little bit of their recovery process has gotten stale or something, and they need a little oomph. And that's what I want to do is provide that. And so it'll be a combination of day-long workshops or half-day workshops and weekend retreats and, multiple day retreats at great ranges that are going to be unbelievable.
Okay. Question, do you find working with women, especially in recovery, do you find that they're more hesitant to get help? I imagine, when you hear about gambling addiction and sexual addiction and alcohol dependence, you think of men oftentimes. This is sort of a male thing. Mm-hmm. But with women, working with women, do you feel like they're more hesitant or afraid to just say that I'm one of those?
Yeah, I think they are, because I think women feel shame. At a deeper degree, I think, than men do. I don't have the statistics on that, so I can't swear to it, but because I'm sure men have their own difficulties with admitting that they have a problem when they're supposed to be the big, strong guy, right?
Right.
But women have, and this was true for me, is I was always accused of being too sensitive.
Yes. Yeah.
And so something, somebody might say something that they think is just a casual remark and that doesn't mean anything, but that might be something that makes me drink because it makes me feel less than. And then you drink because you're too sensitive. And then you feel ashamed because once you started drinking, it was hard to stop.
Right.
So then you wake up the next day feeling like shit and full of shame and guilt and regret and self-loathing. And I've been there. I know how that feels. And so it's not about being too sensitive. It's about reacting to what other people say in an unhealthy way for you and understanding that the words coming out of the other person's mouth are their words.
Yeah.
And you're not responsible for them.
Right.
And you can set boundaries.
Yes.
You can say, damn, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah. And it's not your fault or your responsibility for what came out of somebody else's mouth.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think women have a special, there's a special category, for women who are struggling there. Yeah. And the alcohol companies don't do anything to help because they target women in their marketing. Yeah, they do. They target women and they target young women who are mothers. How many times have you heard about it's mommy juice or, the wine bottle that says, and I haven't been in a liquor store in 13 years. So it's hard for me to, but I see the ads, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a pretty rosé or, they really market to the women so that women think that it's cool and it's okay.
It's just wine.
It's just wine. It's just wine.
Mm-hmm. And
what it is it's grape juice with alcohol, with ethanol, and ethanol is used in rocket fuel. So, the fact of the matter is that we are being sold a bill of goods that is dangerous for a huge portion of the population. You can't drink an addictive substance without the probability of becoming addicted to it.
Without the consequence.
Addictive substance. Yeah. And some people are lucky enough not to become addicted.
Yeah.
But some people, it kills them.
Yeah.
And I've seen it.
Yeah.
And so it's our culture has become so numb to the consequences of alcohol. And alcohol is the only drug that people ask us why we're not consuming it instead of being asked why we are. Nobody says, well, why aren't you shooting up heroin? How come you're not smoking marijuana every day?
Wow, that's when you put it in those terms.
Right?
Yeah.
How come you're not popping Percodan every 6 hours?
Yeah.
It's the same idea. It's legal and it's romanticized.
Yeah.
And unless you're drinking a glass of champagne when you're celebrating everything, then you're not living life to the fullest.
You're not living life, and you're hard to hang out with because, gosh.
Because God damn it, you don't drink. So we won't invite you because you won't. You're going to put a damper on the party, right?
Yeah. You're going to be completely sober.
Right. And so then that's what keeps people drunk. That's what kept me drunk for a long time was I'll never have fun again. If I quit drinking, I will never have fun again. And that was the first thought the day after I tried to kill myself. I'll never have fun again. Oh, well, yeah, that was really fun. Putting a gun to my head. That was a great time.
Yeah. That's a real thing. Yeah.
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 So
now what do I do? Now what do I do for fun? Going to the Christmas party. Now what?
Right.
Yeah.
And it is, it's uncomfortable. And it's especially uncomfortable when you're trying to pretend like you're not drinking, so
Yes.
you slide up to the bar and say, can I just have some club soda, so that people don't know that you're not drinking, that's not vodka and soda,
Right.
and that's a bunch of bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
because there's still this stigma around people who don't drink,
Yeah.
and around people who drink alcoholically, and that kept me drunk for a long time. The thinking of being labeled as an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So my passions are to shatter the stigma of alcoholism and addiction, and to normalize not drinking.
Yeah. That you're still cool.
Yeah. And fortunately, now people are starting to talk about recovery more. And that's the way we're supposed to be, is sober. We're not supposed to have to poison ourselves in order to have a good time.
Yeah. In order to commune with others and feel comfortable in ourselves and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I certainly don't want to get on a soapbox about the demon alcohol, the demon rum, right? But it really doesn't do a whole lot of good for us. Yeah. And it can ruin our lives.
You can do a lot of hard things and affect the generations coming.
Yeah.
Can create cycles. Yeah. So give us a couple of pieces of advice from your playbook. What is one book that you would advise all women to read?
Well, top of the list is probably Untamed by Glennon Doyle.
Okay.
And then anything by Brene Brown. I mean, everything and anything by Brene Brown, and by Martha Beck. Okay. Those are my top three favorites as far as, telling it like it is.
Okay.
And
why Untamed? What is about that book that you found valuable?
Glennon Doyle just writes from her heart.
Okay.
And, she's got a few books out, and this one was really, it just really, she got down to the nuts and bolts of her truth. And, anytime someone does that and really bears their soul, they earn my respect. I mean, those women are women that I would love to meet and have coffee with. And I've had the extreme honor and privilege to be coached by Martha Beck herself on stage in front of 100 people. So that was quite amazing to sit down with the three of them, or just one of them one-on-one. I mean, it would be exquisite, just absolutely exquisite.
Okay.
So anything they write, I highly recommend.
Thank you. And what is one thing that you cannot miss doing every day?
I'm not great at routine. I will tell you, the one thing that I can't miss doing is having warm lemon water first thing in the morning.
I heard that's amazing for you. Yeah.
And it may be amazing for you, for us.
Yeah.
But I have to do it if I want to drink coffee.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Why?
That's my stomach up for success as far as coffee is concerned. Now, today is a abnormality, because I had my lemon water and I had my coffee and my stomach is revolting. So, you just never know. But that is one thing that I do every day. Now, I try to journal. I try to meditate. I'm not good at either one of them on a steady, regular, consistent basis. And it's unfortunate, because I recommend all of those things to my clients. So it's kind of like physician, heal thyself. But but those things are very, very beneficial. Writing a gratitude list. Yeah. First thing, really important. Last thing before you go to bed, really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Meditation is extremely, extremely helpful. And so many people that I know do that on a regular basis. And, they've told me the difference that it's made in their lives. And when I do it, I do notice a difference.
Okay.
And for some reason, I just let life get in the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the human experience. We do let life get in the way. And I'm guilty of it just as much as the next guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom, for showing us and teaching us some tools to get to where you are, and for inspiring us that, you know what, no matter how old you get, you can turn it all around. You're not done yet. You have a purpose here on the planet, and it is your responsibility and your joy to find it.
Absolutely right.
So
thank you so much, Julia.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about what you have next. Please send me the retreat. I know there's one in February.
Yep.
Send them to me. I will share them with everybody because I think it's so important for you to shake off the noise.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the F50 Woman podcast. Join the F50 Woman movement and this diverse group of voices to help change the world one woman at a time. Why should you join at your age? Because we're not done yet.